As you're probably aware of by now, a large part of mixing your project involves finding the right level for each track by adjusting the volume faders. But you're not always going to want to have certain tracks be the exact same level throughout the entire song or project you're working on. There may be tracks where the sound level is uneven in certain places, where it gets too loud or too quiet, or maybe you want to bring an instrument up for a solo and then take it back down to its original level. GarageBand includes a powerful automation system that lets you specify exactly when you want a fader to move, how far it moves, and how long it stays there. And it's not just volume levels that can be automated. You can also automate things like the track panning, as well as smart control settings. Let's use the rhythm guitar track again for this example. I'm going to solo that, and I'm actually going to open up my smart controls for a second and just get rid of the auto units effects that we added in the previous movie, so we can hear it as is. And let's play this for a couple seconds. Okay, so here at the verse, right around measure 10, the guitar drops down a bit in volume. Now that's largely due to the way the guitarist played it. But let's say for this example it drops down too much for my tastes. I want to be able to hear a little bit more of it than what was recorded. Now I can't simply move the track's volume fader, because that would increase the level of the entire track. So instead I'm going to add an automation action that will raise the level for me and then bring it back down when I want. Start by coming up here and clicking the Show Automation button. That places an automation menu on each track's controls, and from this menu, I can choose which attribute of the track I want to automate. Now, turning on automation also places this automation button on each track, which you can use to show and hide the automation area of each track. Automation envelopes, as they're referred to, are adjusted manually on the tracks right over the waveforms. So for example, with volume selected, notice when I move the volume fader, you can see this line start moving up and down. That's the volume envelope. Actually, if I click on it, you'll see it a little bit better. There it is. And you'll notice the entire thing moves up and down because I'm adjusting the volume of the entire track uniformly with the fader. But I want to be able to manually adjust specific areas. So I'm going to click on this envelope line right at the top of the verse, and that indicates the starting point for the volume change I'm programming. You can see it places this little dot here. Now, the way I prefer to work is to then click where I want the volume to return back to its original level. Probably right around here, measure 15. Now I can add the points to increase the volume. I'll click right next to that first point, and then I'll drag up to where I want the volume. Let's just increase it about 3 dB. This is just a guess. I might need to adjust the point up or down when I listen. And then I'll click to the left of the last point and drag that point up to the same level, or thereabouts. So looking at this now, you can pretty much see how this is going to work. When we reach this point in the song here at measure 10, the volume is going to increase. It'll stay at that level until it reaches the next point, and then drop back down to the original level. Now let's listen, and also keep your eye on the volume fader here. You'll see it actually move when the volume changes. Pretty cool, right? And that's pretty much all there is to automating volume, and it works much the same way for all the other properties you can automate. For example, if I want to automate the panning, maybe I want the guitar to move towards the right side of the stereo field during the chorus, I just switch the menu here to Pan. Now, if you're not sure or can't remember which envelope line is which, just adjust the control. So you can see that the pan line is the one that's moving. Again, let me click on it so you can see it. There it is. So panning to the right moves the line down, and panning to the left moves it up. I'll option click it to set it back to the center again. All right, tell you what, this is probably something you wouldn't do in a real project, but just so you can see how it works, I'm going to add some extreme panning to the chorus part here. Let me just scroll over a little bit, and let me just listen once. So right here at measure 22 is where I want to start. So I'll click to place my first point. And again, I do highly recommend that you always start by placing your beginning and end points. Otherwise, if you start dragging points around, you're going to be affecting everything that follows that point. So if I started putting down another point now and dragging it, notice that affects everything that follows it. Let's undo that. I'll undo one more. And let's just say I want to end right around here. Now I can start getting crazy. Clicking to adding some points, I'll go to the extreme right, add another point, drag that up. We'll just keep going like this. And if we're listening, especially if you're listening with headphones, you should start hearing the audio moving right and left when we get to that point. And then it gradually comes back to center. So that's how to write automation into your tracks. And again, you can automate volume, panning, EQ, and reverb, as well as any smart controls or plugins that support automation. Notice all these smart control here can be automated, and these refer to the amp that I'm currently running this guitar through. If I open that up, notice we have the gain, the tone, the drive, and so on. Now, the smart control options will only show up on tracks that have smart controls that can be automated. Now also, if you've applied any plugins that support automation, they'll appear here too. For example, maybe if I add an audio units effect back in, just add the compressor, say keep, close that. Notice now we have the compressor automation options here as well. So if I wanted to automate the attack time, I could select that, and there's the line for that. And I could start automating it. Now I've kind of messed this track up a bit, and I could just turn automation off for this entire track to bypass all these weird things I did to it. But if you actually want to remove automation, you do so by single-clicking the points and deleting them. So let's go back to volume, and I'll start selecting points and hitting delete on my keyboard. And I also added some panning, so let's go there. Now if you want to delete multiple points like I'm doing here, just hold down Shift on your keyboard, select them all at once, and then hit delete. So now my panning is back to the center. All right, I'll turn the automation envelopes off so we can hide them. And that's working with automation in GarageBand.